Negro, how Black Americans manifested a different deity than their white oppressors. During my period of spiritual enlightenment, I want to say I was about 22 or 23. I started to renounce the Christianity religion. I don't think I ever was an honest Christian. I was just scared into believing that if I didn't give my life to Jesus Christ, I was going to die and go to hell. Because who would want their soul to burn for all eternity, right? Certainly not me. I began with the unusual research on how Christianity was given to us by the white man to make us docile and to the so-called civilize us, because our indigenous Black African gods were savage and of the devil, and how our traditional spiritual practices were demonized and characterized as ignorant superstition and witchcraft. I began to question how Black people could worship a God that came from their oppression. It wasn't until the resurgence of white Christianity nationalism that I realized that our ancestors manifested a totally different God than their white oppressors. My realization led to a different framework of how I previously viewed Black Christianity and the Black church. The difference between those two deities are the reason Bishop Richard Allen and Reverend Absalom Jones founded the AME Church. When those white men degraded the Black members at St. George Methodist Episcopal Church by yanking them up from the prayer, and it was then that I realized that they were praying to a different deity than their white counterparts, Richard Allen writes. The meeting had begun, and they were nearly done singing. And just as we got to the seats, the elder said, "Let us pray." We had not been long upon our knees before I heard considerable scuffling and low talking. I raised my head up and saw one of the trustees having hold of Rev. Absalom Jones, pulling him up off his knees and saying, "You must get up. You must not kneel here." And by this time, prayer was over, and we all went out of the church in a body. And there were more plagued with us in the church. Our ancestors realized that the white Christians were worshiping the God of white supremacy, that they would stop at nothing to enforce their racial hierarchy, even in the so-called house of God. After Richard Allen founded the AME Church, the white Methodist leaders of St. George continually attempted to exert their dominational control over Belfast's governance and properties. They consisted in claiming that the building belonged to the Methodist General Conference, and even tried to install and replace the trustees with white ministers. Because how dare the Blacks have the audacity to have agency over their spiritual lives? God has put the white man on earth to govern the physical, psychological, and spiritual well-being of the Negroes, and he put it to our custody. It took two lawsuits filed by Richard Allen in 1807 and 1815 to successfully establish the AME Church rights to exist as an independent institution. Christianity was never meant to be a tool for liberation for our ancestors. Hence, after the Nat Turner Rebellion, strict laws were enacted on African Americans that prohibit them from being educated, whether they were free or enslaved, prohibited them from gathering in large groups, especially for religious or educational purposes. Our ancestors have always repurposed the social structure of dominant society to fit their ways of knowing and deliver from their own oppressions. The God that manifested in bondage was nothing like the God of our oppressors. Who is the God of white supremacy and manifest destiny? Their God is a God of resistance and resilience, whose size was the oppressed, not the oppressor. Bishop Henry McNeil Turner declared God is a Negro in his 1895 speech at the National Baptist Convention. This radical statement sent chills down the spine of white America. The Observer critiqued Bishop Turner, stating, Bishop Turner of the African Methodist Church says that God is a Negro. The good bishop has been represented as one of the ablest men of his race. We thought justly. So if he is not only an intelligent thinker, but upon all subjects connected with his people, his reasoning is profound and is, most instances, unanswerable. He is evidently becoming eminent if he used the language attributed to them. Bishop Turner responded by saying, we have much right, biblically and otherwise, to believe that God is a Negro. And you buckra or white people have to believe that God is a fine-looking, symmetrical, and ornamented white man. Turner's declaration was theological warfare. It destroyed the idea of a white God that governed the Negro race, was justified slavery, segregation, and racial hierarchy. Bishop Turner was the progenitor of Black theology, which Reverend James Cone fully actualized in the 1960s. Reverend Cone argued that God identifies with the oppressed and stated that any theological that is indifferent to the theme of liberation is not Christian theology. This challenged the notion that one could be a racist, a bigot, and a Christian at the same time. When we see white Christian nationalists like Charlie Kirk, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Pete Hegseth, we must remember that we worship two different deities with two distinct ideologies. Our ancestor manifested a God of liberation and justice, and reimprinted a faith that was meant to make them obedient and docile, and used it to free themselves. The God of Black America is not a God of passivity, but a God of liberation, a breaker of chains, and not a God of white supremacy. With all that being said, be the change that you want to see. Okay, love you. Bye.